Great day, attractive thinker and visionaries around the world. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach and get to the root specialist at theattractivethinker.guru. This is where we support you, new and aspiring entrepreneurs, with the mental tools for mental healing, mental strength, and mindset maintenance. I want to congratulate all of the attractive thinkers who supported this message, who received this message in their heart, in their spirit. They reviewed these notes, all of the visionaries who captured these gems, from these Beyond the Break episodes. And Tichet and I enjoy hearing your comments, reading your comments, and hearing how these messages are making a difference in your life. If this message is resonating with you, if our YouTube channel is being a blessing to you, click the like button, click the share button, and subscribe for the next episode. Welcome my co-host Tichet Bradshaw to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance.
Happy Mindset Monday, everybody. We made it. We made it through another week. We get to do what we've never done, go where we've never gone, and have all that we deserve to have in this lifetime. It's a great day to be alive.
It is a fantastic and amazing day to be alive. If you're listening to this message and you can hear our voices, it is a great day for you to be alive as well. And we want to maximize that. We want to take advantage of that. We want to honor that and set aside space to really appreciate this day that we've never seen before. We cannot keep taking these days for granted, taking it for granted that we're waking up in the morning, taking it for granted that when we go to sleep that we just deserve to wake up in the morning. It's just going to happen. We don't know. So that's why we say it is a great day to be alive, because that's the perspective that we have. We don't want to look back on our days and say, well, I should have been more appreciative. I wish I had maximized that moment more. I should have been more happier. I should have, inspired more joy, sparked more joy in my life. You don't want to look back on your life and now you see the blessing. Now you see the blessing in waking up and experiencing a great day to be alive. And now you see the opportunities, and now you see how it could have shifted a little bit. Right now, in this moment, we bring all of our energy and our minds and our perspectives right here in this moment. We're living a day. We got to wake up in this day, and it is a fantastic and amazing day to be alive. Today, we're going to shine the light in the area of how defining moments can rock your world. Have you ever had your world rocked? Have you ever been knocked off of your feet? Have you ever experienced something that caught you on the blind side that you didn't expect? And you didn't even know how to respond to it. Your emotions were all over the place. You didn't know whether you were happy or sad or angry or mad or vengeful or joyful or depressed or anxious. You didn't know what emotion to grasp because they were all coming up at the same time. And it was like a whirlwind of emotions, and it rocked your world. I've had my world rocked. Tichet's had her world rocked. But we are also here because we want to shine the light and show you the area where we went from rock to restored. Write that down in your attractive thinker notebook, because we're going to go in today rocked and restored. Rocked and restored. You can't be rocked as an attractive thinker and visionary without also being restored. And you can't experience being restored or what restoration really feels like until your world has been rocked. And when we talk about defining moments all of the time, and they have the tendency to, it's almost like turning your life upside down. It's almost like erasing the life you've been living up until this point and ushering you into another life that you're unfamiliar with. That's enough to rock your world. When my world was rocked to shed, I didn't think about or anticipate restoration. I just thought that this is how it's going to be. But we're here to encourage attractive thinkers and visionaries that This is not how it's going to be. If your world was just rocked, meaning you're entering into a break, or you're coming out of a break, you're moving from being rocked to restored, this message is for you. So when we talk about rocked to restored, we're talking about a perception. The whole thing is a perception, Tichet. If I sit here and say to you, oh my God, like Tichet, you're not going to believe what happened to me yesterday and it rocked my world, that's my perspective. Because I could share the same experience with you, or you could have the same experience that I just had, and you didn't say it rocked your world. You came at me with another perspective. So when we say things rocked our world, that's our perspective of our experience, what happened to us. And when we say from rocked to restored, now if that's your perspective, that this experience rocked your world, I want you to understand that there is restoration that comes behind that. You can't stay in a rocked state. We're not designed to stay in a rocked, arrested state as attractive thinkers and visionaries. There is restoration that comes after that because of the perspective that we have of ourselves. Tisha, we talked earlier about identity and discovering who you really are on the inside, because it changes the game with everything that you have to experience going forward. Talk to us about being rocked to restored.
Dr. Toni, like you mentioned earlier, we both have went through our rock stage. We normally call that going into being in the break, going into the break, being in the break. When things are happening, that's going into the break. How we are dealing with it is when we are in the break, right? So the perspective that we build concerning what happened, that's being in the break. You feel broken, you're trying to justify, you don't understand why it happened, but somehow your whole identity becomes rocked. When you become rocked, everything that you believe comes to the surface. It comes open. So if something happens and someone does something to you, and the first thing you say is, see, this is why I can never have anything nice. That's the belief that is in you that keeps coming up every time something happens. That's something you have to work on, something you have to, deal with. Our identity to ourselves make the biggest difference in the world. Our perception of ourselves should be the first thing that we work on, right? Because as you're going out into this world, you're being introduced to many different perspectives and perceptions and other people's desires and ideas and promises and, offers. You're being presented with a whole bunch of stuff. And how do you know what to say yes to and what to say no to if you don't understand who you are and you don't have the proper perspective of yourself, right? And so you go out there and you just start saying yes to people, and that yes ends up bringing you a situation that causes you to feel rocked because your identity has been exposed or open or broken because of whatever the situation is, right? You might have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. And an experience may have happened that was unwarranted, right? What did you call it, Dr. Toni? Contrary to what you believe or to what you wanted, right?
Yeah.
And so when we have those experiences happen, when we say rocked, we're not just saying, oh, it just messed me up. We're saying your belief system got put to the test. The perception of yourself got put to the test. What you've learned so far got put to the test. Your faith got put to the test. A lot of things get put to the test soon as a situation happened that was unwarranted. Soon as a situation that happened that could break your heart, when you break your heart. So when we normally talk about break, we're talking about the heartbreak or the break in a success, right? Because sometimes we take for granted how things could go in the middle of a break in a success, right? Because you start holding on to your last success and that last identity when there's a new identity being built. But with the heartbreak, soon as a heartbreak happens, everything that is in you becomes exposed and showing you what you believe in, who you are, or who you think you are, right? And so one of the things I had to do, Dr. Toni, when my world got rocked, is I had to establish my identity, my true identity, not the identity of the person that got hurt, not the identity of who they said I should be, not the identity of, an accumulation of other people's opinion, not the identity of what my parents thought I should be, not the identity based on the degrees I got, based on, the successes that I had, my real and true identity. Without all the things you have earned and lost, who are you? Without everything that you have, without people around you, who are you? Who are you without your successes and your failures? Who are you without your makeup, your clothing? Who are you without your desires? Who are you? Not what you do, but who are you? It is important to know who you are and what you are, right? And the reason why I say what you are, because some of us are walking around here as empaths, taking on other people's energies and not realizing that it's another person's energy. But if you don't know you're an empath, you'll take it for yourself and you'll think that it's you feeling a certain way, right? And not just you picked up on another person's energy. Same thing with people who are sensitive. There are some people who are sensitive and you can pick up on another person's energy and you can then carry that energy throughout the rest of your day and you don't know why your day changed. You were having a good time, your day changed, your mood changed for no reason. And then you start to think, I have a mood disorder, and not realizing that you were sensitive or an empath and you picked up someone else's energy. It is possible. It is possible to pick up other people's energy. That's why you have to know who you are and what you are so you can get to the bottom of why you are, your purpose, the reason why you took on this physical existence, the reason why you're on this journey in the first place. What are you trying to build? What are you trying to accomplish? What's at the end of this goal, of this journey, right? What is your drive for life? We have to understand what our purpose is. A lot of times, Dr. Toni, it took the rocking for me to be exposed to who I thought I was in order for me to start really looking into who I really was. So if it wasn't for me being rocked, I might have been still living that mundane routine life, just playing with life. I might have been that person that was just going through life mindlessly, not caring about anything. Once I got rocked, I had some questions. I had to question, do I really believe this stuff? Yes or no? Am I really this person? Yes or no? It made me angry. It made me angry enough to face everything I believed in that time, right? So in my rocking stage also birthed Visual Encourager, the woman I am today, right? So I don't regret being rocked at all. There was a time where I did regret it. I regretted it for a while, actually. I went to a great depression, being rocked, right, on my situations and things like that, having loss and having my identity be put into things that were not in myself. Putting your identity in anything outside of you is a mistake. Putting your identity into a job, into a person, into a business, that is a mistake. Those are things you do or interact with or things you have. That is not who you are. Those are extensions, right? When you have the right perspective of who you are and you understand your true identity, it does not matter what you lose, it's not going to rock your identity. It does not matter who walks in or out of your life, it's not going to take away from you because those are extensions, those are extra, those are not necessities. When you know who you are It doesn't matter whether or not your family supports you, your friends come out and show support for you. It doesn't matter if the person you thought you was going to spend the rest of your life with decides to say, okay, I have to go a different route. It doesn't matter if that job said you're not good enough for us. We have to let you go. Your identity is what you're going to fall back on when those situations happen. Right. And if your identity of yourself is strong, a solid, firm foundation, then there's only but so much rocks you can get. Right. So when these situations happen, you can start to put things in a proper perspective because it didn't break your identity, it didn't break you open. We don't have to keep living with a broken heart just because our heart broke once. We do not have to keep living with a broken heart. We can heal, we can be restored. We have to work towards restoration. We have to want and see that restoration is an option. We have to want to commit to our healing. No, I think we wait for something to happen and then all of a sudden we'll be healed. But sometimes it doesn't work like that. Sometimes it takes consistency in operating under the right perception and the right mindset and the right self-talk and the right affirmations and having those things in place and having your power in place and having the tools in place to help you think when you feel like you're not thinking correctly. It takes a lot of that inconsistency in order for you to build an identity for yourself that can remain strong when life knocks at the door. Because best believe life gonna knock at the door. Dr. Toni used to say when we was on the radio, life is not going to stop happening just because you decided to get a life.
Yes.
Life consists of pain or pleasure most of the times. When you're doing something, it either brings you pain or it brings you pleasure. Now, you do have some instances where it might fall somewhere in between. It might not mean a lot. So when you build a life that is meaning and you are awake and aware of yourself, you're aware of what every situation and every decision, which way it turns you. Do it turn you towards pain or does it turn you towards pleasure? Because a lot of us are mindlessly making a decision that's turning us more towards pain and we don't recognize it. We keep saying yes to stuff we should say no to because of guilt, because we feel like we owe somebody something. And we keep saying, yes, I'll do it, and yes, I'll do it, and yes, I'll do it, because sometimes you might not even have the heart to say, I can't do this anymore. And so you accept the pain versus them having to take the pain of you not fulfilling what you said you were going to help them do, right? And sometimes when you make certain decisions, you have to make sure that you're making sound decisions. Because if you start telling people you're going to do things and it's not a sound decision, you're making an emotional decision, you'll find yourself making decisions out of pain quite often. And you'll start working more and more into pain and building more and more into pain. And then you become more and more aware of pain. And next thing you know, your life feels like a series of pain. Now, here's the thing. No, your life is not a series of pain if you have the right perception. You know there's always contrast. There's always two sides to every story. There's always polar opposites. There's law of polarity. You have both ends of the coin always. You have the good and you have the bad side, right? The problem is how we perceive a thing. We cannot go through life continually judging the things that did not work out, calling it a failure. It wasn't a failure. Failure is quitting. Failure is not trying an experiment and then getting an outcome that wasn't what we expected it. That's not failure. It just didn't work out. It didn't work out. You tried that job, you didn't like it, it didn't work out. You tried that business, you didn't like it, it didn't work out. You tried that relationship, you didn't like it, it didn't work out. Right? That's all it was. That does not identify you as a failure. What that does identify you as somebody who's on a journey and willing to try different things, and a person that is persevering. Somebody that's willing to push past the pain, push past the losses and the successes and losses, push past all of that to continue on the journey. A lot of the things, Dr. Toni, when we get to a rocked situation, we want to justify it. We want to justify it. We want to say, oh, this is why this happened to me. Why did it happen to me? Why did this happen? I did something wrong, or I didn't do something right, or maybe, God loves me, or God don't love me, or this, that, and the other, I'm not blessed. We have so many reasons to why we try to justify why we got rocked in the first place. At the end of the day, the why sometimes don't matter. And I say sometimes because a lot of times, a lot of people can't have closure until they have a why. But until you get a why, you can't let that be the reason why you can't keep going. So what happens is, if you get the why this certain situation happened, does it make you feel better? Does it help you move forward? Is there any justification to why you had this situation happen to you that can make you feel better about it happening to you? The whole point is that it did happen to you, and you have to have the proper perception on how to move forward with it. We always say, if you can't change it, use it. So, Dr. Toni, when I pass this thing over, that's one of the things I want you to explain to us is, how do you take in a situation or circumstances when you are completely rocked and use it to go forward when I turn this thing over? But a lot of the times when we are rocked, we try to justify and then we judge. It takes a lot of negative energy to judge yourself. That energy does not do any good for you. If you can't find a reason why a certain thing happened, let's go forward to see why. Let's go forward and create the why. It had, for instance, my why was, okay, that had to happen so that visual encouragement can be birthed forward. That was a good enough why for me. It might not have even been the right why or the real why, but it was a why enough to make sure I finished the race, right? It was a perception that I had to come up with that allowed me to let that situation heal so that I could keep going forward with the identity that I created for myself, right? And so in order for me, Dr. Toni, to come out of a consistent amount of rocked situations, because it was like I was rocked and then rocked and then rocked and then rocked, and I would get up and rock some more, get up and rock some more, and it's like it kept coming, and I said, what am I doing wrong, right? And then I looked at my dominant way of being. My dominant energy was depression. I tend to fall back into depression. That was something that, if nobody said anything, I can go right on back into it. I can go back into that depression easy. That's the first thing that will pop open soon as a rock happened. So when those rock situations were happening, it was exposing me to me. It was exposing to me that my dominant way of being was depressed. So what did I do with that situation? I had to change my dominant way of being. I had to have some consistency, have a knowledge of how I wanted to be. What did I want my dominant way of being? It wasn't depressed. So I said, okay, well, I would like to be happy. I would like to be free. I would like to feel alive. I realized that I didn't feel alive often. I wanted to feel alive. I wanted to feel like I mattered. I wanted to feel great. I wanted to feel like, my time on this earth is a good one, right? And so in order to do that, I had to change my dominant way of believing, which means I had to face myself. I had to face every situation that led me to believe that I wasn't worthy or that I didn't feel alive. Because if you face yourself, you'll see all these situations that you thought you suppressed. You didn't suppress them. They came out in a different way, but you didn't suppress them. They was always there. You got to deal with them. You got to allow yourself the time to uncover the sore, apply some antiseptic, and allow yourself to heal, right? And it takes consistency to do that, to heal. It takes consistently taking care of yourself, consistent self-care. What kind of thought life do you see yourself having? When we say what's our dominant way of being, the desire of our dominant way of being, what does that look like to you? If your dominant way of being was I was a loser, how do you change that to a dominant way of I'm a winner? That means you have to consistently look for the win in everything. Even if you feel like it didn't work out, what was the win? This is what attractive thinkers and visionaries do. We will pull the lesson and the blessing out of any situation, whether it rocked us to the core or not. That is a gift. That is a gift to look beyond what you're looking at. That is a gift to see a win out of something that could have destroyed you. It didn't destroy you. And if it didn't destroy you, why not take that situation and allow you to win with it? It's a possibility. We're all created to win. We really are, if we allow it. We all have the ability to heal if we allow it. There's no answer that is withheld from us. There's an answer in the earth for every situation. If you can't find it, then it might be your time to create it. There's an answer. Even if you don't know what that answer is, that the fact that it is an answer should be enough to fuel you to keep going to go find it. Don't just find it for just you. Find it for you and everybody else who don't believe that there's their answer out there. Show yourself, prove yourself wrong. There's an answer out there, right? Because a lot of times we didn't believe we had answers for a lot of these illnesses, but there is an answer. Somebody was willing to push past the fact that there was no answer and find an answer. There's plenty of people who are breaking grounds here. That's why I always call my people visionaries and groundbreakers and trailblazers, because you all are people who are not going to let anything stop them, and you definitely not going to let a wall stop you from moving. You'll dig a path through that wall. You'll go somewhere and not see a path and create one. You're not going to just sit there and say, oh, well, there's no more path here. I guess I can't go anymore. You're going to keep going regardless of what you see and what you do. That's trailblazing. That's pathfinding. That's a gift in itself. And you have to have vision in order to break through those walls and those barriers like that, in order to get the life that you deserve. The point is that you deserve a life of healing. You deserve to feel alive. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be completely free. You deserve to be able to have some self-care without feeling guilty. You deserve to be able to live in the abundance. You deserve to have the life and that more abundantly. You deserve that. You deserve to have fun. Why does life have to be so stale, stuck, and stagnant, so stuffy? Why does it have to be when life allows you the opportunity to do it all? You just have to take that opportunity. So if you're rocked right now, allow yourself the ability to rebuild your identity. Build a strong, solid, firm foundation in your identity that you don't let simple things, rock you again. It's going to have to take a whole world to rock you after that point, right? Because now you're strong, you're secure in yourself, you got the proper things in place. So every little thing is not rocking you every day. Now they have to take something big to get to you, right? And so allow yourself the time that's necessary to be restored. You have to take that time. It's necessary. How much better can you be for the people who are coming to your businesses, or the people who are coming to you for work or for help? How much beneficial will it be if they came to somebody that was whole and restored? How much better are you for people when you are whole and restored? You can give better advice, better answers, better opportunities. You build opportunities for your children. How much better are you when you feel alive and well for the benefit of others? So this is not just about you. Everybody needs you to be okay. They need you to be happy. They need you to be well. And it's you that got to get past this rock situation and allow yourself the ability to be restored. Back to you, Dr. Toni.
Shad, I tell you, attractive thinkers and visionaries really need to have your attractive thinker notebook handy, because that revelation was coming to me like running water while you were talking. And the whole point is I want the attractive thinkers and visionaries to understand and get the fact that you, your perspective is a powerful thing when your world is being rocked. And when we go back and listen to the message from last week that we posted today. I'm sorry, the message we posted today, we recorded it last week. Go back and listen to that message, tools for stabilizing the mind. When we talk about rocked and restored, your perspective plays a major role here. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. Tichet, when we talk about rocked, I was listening to you talk, and I said, well, maybe attractive thinkers and visionaries don't understand what is being rocked. Because, see, when we talk about rocked or entering into a defining moment, experience a defining moment, we know how it feels. We know what's going on around us and what's changing and what's shifting and what's not the same. But do we really know what is happening when your world gets rocked? What is actually being rocked? Your beliefs. Your beliefs are being rocked, your perspectives, your emotions, your suppressed traumas. It's like that sand, that little sand thingy that we hold in our hands, and all the sand is in the bottom. And then when you flip it, the sand starts to come through the little tube down to the bottom again, but it's coming at a steady pace. Your suppressed traumas, all of the issues that you put in, hide in the background, and you go out and live life and not deal with them, and you carry them with you, but they haven't gone anywhere. They're still there. They're just suppressed. But when your world gets rocked and turned upside down, here we go, everything starts coming to the surface, all of the things that you didn't want to deal with. What gets rocked? Your hopes and your dreams, your confidence and your courage. Think about that. So when we talk about restored, what gets restored? If you were to ask somebody that, have you ever experienced restoration? What got restored? They may talk about materialistic things. Well, I got my house back, or I got my man back, or I got another man, or I got an increase on my job. I got some money, or I won some money, or somebody gave me some money, or somebody brought me a bag of food. They're talking about external things. But when your world is rocked and you are restored, what for attractive things and visionaries, what gets restored are your beliefs. Your perspectives, now they're crystal clear. Now they're not faulty beliefs. They're beliefs, your core beliefs. They're from a place of truth that supports your goals and where you want to go with your life. What gets restored? Your soul. What gets restored? Your peace, your heart. What gets restored? Your confidence and courage. And Tichet, the way I understood that I was being restored was I had something to compare it to, because I know what it's like to not have confidence and courage. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, after months of sitting in and wallowing in my world being rocked, all of a sudden I wake up and I'm restored. What was restored? My hope. All of a sudden, out of the blue, I didn't do anything. I didn't cross all my T's and dot all my I's. I wasn't perfect, but all of a sudden one day I woke up and I was restored. So I went from rocked to restore. So what gets rocked? Write that down in your attractive thinker notebook. Your peace, your beliefs, your perspectives, your hope, your confidence and courage. Your world has been rocked when you lose hope. Your world is rocked when all of a sudden you don't have clarity, when before you had clarity on your vision and your dreams and your goals and what you wanted to do with your life. Your world has been rocked when now you don't have peace. You were basking in peace, before. Now nothing brings you peace. No matter what you do, food doesn't bring you peace. Relationships don't bring you peace. Money don't bring you peace. And people are bringing all of it to you. They're bringing you food and money and cards and flowers and support. And nothing is restoring your peace. Your world has been rocked. Your beliefs, your perspectives, your soul has been rocked. And now that those things have taken place, that your world has been rocked, because now you're experiencing restoration. One day you woke up and you were stronger. One day you woke up and you had hope. You know how you know when you've had hope, your hope has been restored? Because now you got another idea. Now you have another vision for your plans going forward. That's when you know your hope is restored. Now you feel the energy to get up out of the bed and do something. Now you feel like picking up what you dropped when your world was rocked. That's when you know your hope is restored. And the beautiful part about it is, to share, you don't, these intangible valuables, I call them the intangible treasures. They don't come back as they were. They've been rocked. They've been shook. They've been turned upside down. So they come back in a form that increases what you were doing, in a form that empowers you, in a form that makes you feel more confident in what you were working on before your world was rocked. They don't come back the same. They come back with this potency, so to speak, that gives you a solidified clarity that is unshakable. So there are benefits to being rocked, because then you enter into a space where you're unshakable. And Tichet, you mentioned that. You said when you solidify your identity within yourself, there's not too much rocking that can go on in your world, because you've already done the work to solidify who you are. And because when you know who you are, your perspectives can't be shifted when life happens. I think, Tichet, that's what brings us so much pain, is when our world gets rocked and we haven't done our work to solidify who we are.
Yeah.
We haven't done our work to make our perspectives clear to us and our value system clear to us. So when we get rocked, everything gets rocked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everything gets rocked. The stuff start flying out my hand, my shoes start flying out, my coat, my purse, everything is everyone like, what happened? I had a grip on everything. What happened? What just happened? How did I lose these things so quickly? How did they slip through my hands so quickly? It's because I didn't solidify them. They were things that I held in my hand, but not in my heart. And we have to do this work prior to. And Tichet, we talked about this down through the years. Even when we were on the Attractive Thinker radio program for Radio One, we talked about how you have to know who you are before life knocks on your door. We talked about that. So now you know what gets rocked. See, clarity is important here, Attractive Thinker and Visionary. Now you know what gets restored. So what is happening between rocked and restored? What is actually happening, Tichet, between rocked and restored? If my beliefs are being rocked and my beliefs are being restored, what is happening between those two experiences? Your belief system is being abruptly adjusted. Mm-hmm. Without your voluntary support, without your permission. Mm-hmm. Your belief is like your world gets rocked. Your belief goes through this factory of all of these channels and changes, and it comes out on the other side, solidified and fortified and stronger. You're handed a new belief system. Mm-hmm. The old belief system is gone because it was rocked. It was destroyed, literally, because you can't even believe. Even if you tried on the other side of being rocked, you can't even believe like you used to believe. Mm-hmm. So what is happening between rocked and restored is your faith is being assessed and challenged. Now that your world is rocked, you got to go back and assess what do you believe? Your faith is being challenged. Do I really believe what I said? Do I really believe what I said I was believing? Do I really believe that this is going to work out? Do I really believe that I said no matter what, I'm going to do this and that and the other? Did I really believe that? And if I did, why do I feel challenged in that area right now? That's what's happening between rocked and restored. Your faith is being challenged and assessed. Your suppressed emotions are coming to the surface to be addressed. Those things that we pushed off, to the back burner, that we didn't have time to deal with, we didn't want to deal with, we didn't want to face and confront. Now they're right there on the surface in your face. They got to be dealt with. That's what's happening between rocked and restored. Things are moving and shifting. and being repositioned between rocked and restored. Your hopes and dreams and confidence and courage, the value of these things. It's the value of these things. We hear these words all the time. I have hope, or don't lose hope, or hold on to hope, or confidence and courage. Confidence sells. Oh, that person is a courageous person. But do we understand the value of having hope? The value of courage, the value of confidence. So between rocked and restored, these intangibles, their value is being solidified in you. You no longer take a casual approach to hope. Well, I can have hope, or I don't have to have hope. It's okay. Or I could be confident, or I don't have to be confident. It's okay. I can go throughout my day without courage. It's okay. No, 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 no. Now that you've been rocked, these things have increased in value to you. They come with their own value, but they've increased in value to you. They're now more valuable to you because at first you didn't value them. You didn't even know they had value. Now you know. That's what's happening between rocked and restored. And the other thing I wanted to mention to Shet is, because you said when your identity is strong and solidified, there's only so much rocking that can take place. So on the other page of my Attractive Thinker notebook, I wrote, this rocking is a perspective, and we talked about that. But then you started talking about something while I was taking notes. You said, we tend to justify the rocking because we're looking for some type of explanation. You said sometimes people struggle to find closure until they find a reason why it happened. They just can't let it go until they find a reason why. And most of the time, to Shet, I can speak for myself, most of the time we turn to ourselves and we swear it was something that we did or didn't do that make that happen. I swear this rocking, this defining moment in my life, what did I do wrong? It had to be something that I did because of the stature of it, the magnitude and the pain of it, the extent of the pain. It had to be because what? We're taking it personal.
Yes.
And we take it personal because it happened to us. Why not take it personal? It happened to me. It didn't happen to you. It happened to me. So of course I'm going to take it personal. What did I do? What did I do? Or what could I have done to prevent this? It had to be something that I could have done to not make this happen. Was it something I said? Was it something I did? Was it something I believed? What was it? And you begin to search inward, taking it personal. And when we do that, to Shet, the first thing that gets attacked is our identity. I'm not worthy. It happened because I'm not good enough. I knew nothing good was going to come my way anyway. I knew I was only going to get but so far, and then the door was going to be slammed in my face. My world was going to be rocked. The first thing that gets attacked is our identity, who we are. But to Shet, we talked about this earlier. Your identity is solidified. It wasn't given. You didn't give yourself that identity. It was given to you by your creator. Mm-hmm. So your identity doesn't fluctuate with external things when they begin to fluctuate in your life. You don't put your identity on the table just because something happened in your life. You know how valuable your identity is? You don't leave that open for suggestions and opinions and comments and people's perspectives and their beliefs about it, and how they feel about it and their views. Your identity is everything.
Yeah.
It's not up for grabs. It's not up for conversation. It's not optional. So now that we know our identity is off the table, we can address and face and deal with this rocking in a healthy way. In a healthy way. And to Shet, we talked about this earlier. That's why it's important to have healthy minded people around you when your world gets rocked.
Yeah.
So they can catch you when you start saying, it had to be something that I did. They said, no, we're not going there. We're not going to start attacking the identity. That's already established. We're not going to do that. So when you said, would it make you feel better if you knew why? Would it change anything? Would it change the game? Would it change the outcome? Would it change your pain if you knew why? So I started writing down some things that I thought the attractive thinkers and visionaries could really use when in between, we call it in between a rock and a hard place. but we're not going to say that anymore. We're calling it rocked and restored.
Mm-hmm.
Rocked and restored. So I want you to consider these things. Write these down in your attractive thinking notebook. For example, these are two different scriptures that I found in the Bible. It says, you reap what you sow. It was written, it's written, it says it. And then I found another scripture to share. It says, you'll reap where you haven't sown.
Mm-hmm.
So when going through a rocking, a defining moment, your perspective is just that important, because your perspective is going to determine the results that you get from the breaking.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to determine how well you mature and grow and are strengthened through this breaking, through this rocking. Your perspective determines that. So, are you reaping what you've sown, or are you reaping where you haven't sown? That's, you get to choose that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You get to choose. That's not up to nobody but you. You get to make up your own mind on how you're going to perceive and get through this rocking. So, which perspective do you apply when your world has been rocked? Can you live with not knowing why your world had to be rocked? You're seeking, trying to find out why. What did I do? Looking around yourself. Is it something in my environment that caused this, that drew this to me? Did I attract this? Can you live with not knowing why? If you never find out why, can you live with that? That's a question. Write that down in your attractive thinking. It's just something to consider. If you can't discover a reason or a seed that you've sown for this reaping, can you find something in this rocking that you can use? Because I think it's healthy to shed when we experience a rocking, to assess our lives. What needs to be shifted? What needs to move? Was it something I said or did? Da da da. I think it's healthy. But what
Right.
what becomes unhealthy is when we become judgmental and too hard on ourselves and start blaming ourselves and taking on more than we should. That's
Mm-hmm.
when it becomes unhealthy. But when you can't find that thing that needs to be shifted, can you find something that you can use? Because when we talk about being rocked in a world, being shaken and turned upside down, anything that's turned upside down, the ingredients, the elements that are in it are going to be redispersed throughout the whole thing. So your world is shaking, is being rocked and being shaken. Within that shaking, while those ingredients are now being dispersed throughout the whole experience, within those ingredients, can you find something? Can you find one thing that you can use? One good thing that you can use? Can you find anything good in it that you can use going forward that will advance your life, enhance your life, or the lives of the people that you serve? There has to be something while all this shaking and rocking is going on. There's something there that you can use going forward that will advance your life exponentially. I'm not talking about advancing your life in one or two or three steps. I mean exponentially. Because anything that has the potential to rock an attractive thinker or a visionary's world is shaking up some richness and some treasure that is lying dormant within us. I believe that. And it's up to us to have that perspective and be looking while we're rocking. Be looking while our world is being turned upside down. Be on the lookout for the goodness. That's what we should be doing. If you can't change it, you said, Tichet, we used to say this all the time. If you can't change it, use it. So you want me to elaborate on that. How do you use it when you can't change it? So you mentioned how we judge it, number one. But what would you say? This is one of the first things. If you can't, find anything good in it, or you feel like you can't change it, how do you use it? To shed, a lot of times something that has worked for me is I have to perceive myself as someone else so that I can see what I would say to them. Then I
Mm-hmm.
turn around. So for example, what would you say to a friend? Write that down in your attractive thinker notebook. If it was their world that was being rocked instead of yours, what would you say to them? So you write down what you would say to them. And then you turn around and you begin to say that to yourself. Because, see, it's hard for us to say these things to ourselves without first considering, because we take things personal. We're judgmental. We start looking for stuff, reasons we start looking for stuff we did wrong and reasons why things are happening. And it just gets contaminated. And we don't have that healthy perspective. But if you think, would you say those things to a friend? Would you really run over to your friend's house and they call you, said, my world just got rocked, this and that and the other, I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm done, I'm throwing in the towel. And by the time you get there, you be saying, well, you know what, it had to be something that you did. Would you say that to your friend? Would that be the first thing that come out your mouth? Would you tell them you need to go back over your life and find out why God is punishing you? You wouldn't say that. So if you wouldn't say it to a friend, be your own best friend and don't say it to yourself. Even if, because sometimes, Tichet, those our first responses are those comments, but we have to shut them down.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
can't let them run rampant in our head. We have to shut, say, no, I'm not thinking like that. No, that's not true. No, I'm a good person. I'm a great person. I was about a good work. Even if you don't know what to say, don't say anything. I'm just going to sit here with this until these intense emotions pass or subside or lift so that I can say something healthy concerning this to myself. Because those brutal first comments and thoughts can really add more pain to the rocking, to the experience. And you don't want that. So, my next set of notes I wrote, you don't treat yourself as if you were the only factor involved in this rocking. See, that's when we take it personal. We think this happened all because of me. You're not considering your purpose. You're not considering your destiny. You're not considering the goals you were working on. You're not considering the people that you're serving that need to see a model of success. They need to see somebody overcome something in their face. You're not considering any of that because you're taking it personal as a personal attack against you because you're all of a sudden so unworthy. So I just want you to know that there are other factors involved in your breaking and your rocking other than you and what you did or did not do and how many T's you crossed and I's you dotted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a healthy perspective. When you think that way, the weight lifts. It's not holding you accountable for your actions. No, it's about not abusing yourself in the process. It's about not beating yourself up when you already feel beat down.
Yep.
There are other factors involved in your evolution other than you and what you did or did not do. So think about this for a moment. When it rains, think about, being outside and events are going on, people are everywhere in all places. When it rains, that rain falls on the bride and the groom. And that's something that we hate. You plan your wedding date and you just pray for good weather, and all of a sudden you wake up in the morning and it's pouring down rain. So that rain falls on the bride and the groom. It falls on the gardener and all the plants that they planted. It falls on the contractors. They're out there building buildings or fixing the street and things and highways and things. It's falling on them as well. The ones that are standing on the bus stop driving in the rain or even laying on the curb, that rain is falling on everybody. The kicker is, here's the kicker. They each have their own perspective of the rain based on their core belief because it rains on the just and the unjust.
Mm-hmm.
That's what scripture says. It rains on the just and the unjust. It didn't say it rained on you because you were unworthy or you made the wrong decision or you weren't supposed to do this and that and the other. No, it rains on the just and the unjust. That's a healthy perspective when your world is being rocked. What if we thought like that initially, Tichet, when life knocks on our door or we enter into a defining moment, is that this happens to everybody, or not everybody, but this happens to a lot of people. You're not the only one whose purse was stolen or who had a car accident. I mean, think about that's a good one. Having a car accident, why would you take that personal? People have car accidents every day. Not the same people, but it happens every day all around the world. Why would you take it personal and start internalizing it and beating yourself up? All because of something that happens to the just and the unjust. So life simply is. And how you perceive it determines what you get as a result of it. Life, what if we viewed life like that? Life simply is. And how I perceive what is happening determines what results I get from it. For example, someone fell off of the stage and broke their foot. Did that happen because they were a bad person? Would we say that? Would that be my first response if I was at a concert or a play and people are on the stage and all of a sudden somebody falls and break their foot? Would that be my first response to think, well, you know what? That happened because of their attitude. That happened because of they're not a good person. That would be my first response. What would our first response be to Shed? Like, oh my God, I hope they're okay. I'm so sorry that happened. If that's our first response to others, it should also be our first response to ourselves. I'm just giving you tools. These are tools to use when your world is being rocked. These are just tools. Someone lost their job. Does that mean that they're not good enough?
Right.
So if you lose your job, why would you start internalizing it, taking it personal, thinking that you're not good enough or you're unworthy? Think about that, attractive thinker and visionary. Um, the thing that I feel as though to shed that we don't consider initially when our world is rocked is we have prayed for things and we have believed for things and we're working on achieving and accomplishing certain things in our lives. In order for, let's say, for example, a person has prayed for increase. This just came to me, and I like this scenario. A person has prayed for increase, and then they lose their job. Instead of them having a right perspective, they begin to internalize it. But when you think about it, if you're praying for increase and you lose your job, it's just making room for the increase to come to you. And what I mean by that is maybe that job structure didn't have it built into it to give you an increase. They didn't have the capacity for increase. So you had to be moved to a place where you can be increased. Your finance can be increased. And it had to happen through the loss of a job. If a job can't afford you and what you're praying for or what you're desiring for your life, if that job can't afford you, don't you need to let that go? Don't you have to let that go in order to open yourself up to a place that can afford you and your requests? So losing a job is what we experience in the physical realm. It happens through losing a job. It happens through not just losing a job, getting fired from a job. Or, hey, here's one to share. It also happens with a job closing down. The whole business closed down. You pray for increase and the whole business closed down. Is that personal? That's not personal. That's shifting your direction in an area where you can get what you prayed for. And again, that's another perspective. So that's how I would address if you can't change it, use it. Tichet, tell our audience how they can get in touch with you, the visual encourager, and give us some closing remarks on Rocked and Restored.
Absolutely. You did wonderfully in explaining all that. I don't want people to go past, you said the job can't afford you. That's a different perspective right there. Can the job afford you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I wanted to pinpoint that, because a lot of us are working somewhere and we're not being paid our value for our worth. And we are accepting it because we feel like we have to, and we don't have to. There's always opportunities out there. There's billions of opportunities and ideas that are always waiting on us to take advantage of, in order for us to get the increase we so deserve. Um, and another thing, Dr. Toni, you were saying too, if even if you had a why, not to weaponize that why against us, not to use that against us. If we do find a why, not to use it against us. not to take the reason why that happened and um, keep playing the blame game over and over and over again. The blame game, it doesn't do anything. One of the things, Dr. Toni, I always remember is that whenever you start backpedaling through everything, you pump the brakes. You remember when we used to have the bike and you riding a bike and then all of a sudden you had to pump the pedal backwards, and that's how you pump the brake before they put it on the handlebars. That's what I think about backpedaling through life. When you're constantly in the past, you're not enjoying the present. When you're constantly in the past, you cannot enjoy the present. So I always say when we have to go in the past, it's for the lesson and the blessing. We don't have to take the pain. We don't have to take the whole situation, the whole circumstance. We don't have to take it. Take the lesson and the blessing, and then allow it to be a blessing in your present so that you can create a bigger blessing in the future. Right. And so when you have the proper perception of yourself, it becomes easier and easier to do when you have the proper perception of yourself, because you are not identified with your failures. You're not identified with your losses. You're not identified with what didn't happen or what somebody didn't show up or who walked out. You're not identified with all of that. As a matter of fact, a lot of that stuff becomes irrelevant. And you get to stand and look at yourself in the mirror and really and truly love who you are, where you are, what you're doing, what you got going on. You start loving your purpose. You start moving forward in life, and you realize you're having a good time in life before you realize you're having a good time in life. This is what happens when you make the decision to walk towards the restored. Every decision you make will turn your face towards rocked or restored. With every thought, every yes, every no is going to turn you either this way towards rocked or this way towards restored. You get to choose. Nobody else is going to choose for you. You get to choose. Do I want to keep going this way, or do I want to keep looking at the fact that they didn't show up when they said they was going to show up? Do I have to keep looking at the fact that I lost all my money back there? I want this, but I keep looking at the fact that I lost all my money and I lost my friends and they called me this and they fired me and I didn't graduate and I didn't do this. You see how me wanting this is not looking back here? If I want this, I have to look this way. Been through that, did that, overcame that. I'm going towards the restored, where I take my lessons and my blessing and I use it like a rear view mirror in a car. When you're driving in a car, you don't drive looking in the rear view mirror the entire time. You're going to crash into something. You're going to crash. You're aware of your peripherals. You're aware of your rear view, but you're driving moving forward. You have your eye on the mark of the high calling, right? You have your eye on your journey, the eye on the outcome that you desire, your eye on a purpose. You have your eye on a proper perspective, right? And every now and again, you got to see where you are, and you look and you keep on, but you don't stare at the past in order to try to figure out where you are. You just keep going until you come to a place where you know, and then you start making decisions based on what you know at the moment. You'll find yourself if you look hard enough, and when you find yourself, you'll love yourself. It's crazy how that is, because a lot of people who deal with low self-esteem and that deals with depression, a lot of times have not taken the time to really get to truly know who they are outside of their failures, outside of the things that they lost, outside of the accumulation of other people's opinion. If you are dealing with low self-esteem, take the time to love yourself, love your eyes, love your nose, love your mouth, love who you are, love what you do, and then create a life that mirrors that from that point on. If you made all those mistakes, okay, you made those mistakes. You can't undo it, right? You can't change it. All you can do is accept it. But what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now that it's done? Now that your world is rocked and all this stuff, what are we going to do now? We're going to turn towards the restore, and we're going to keep applying what's necessary. Keep applying those affirmations. Keep applying those words of wisdom. Keep applying the proper perspective. Keep applying the right identity towards where you're going. And you'll get there. You'll get to a point of restore. Can you imagine loving your life? What does that look like? Can you imagine feeling free, actually living and feeling alive and well consistently? Can you imagine joy being a dominant part of your life where every now and again you might get upset at something every now and again, but it's not all the time. But for the most part, your life is joy versus, it rains and pours. As soon as it stops raining, it rains again. We don't have to live in that misery. Can you imagine living a life that's thriving? A life that, what does that look like for you? What does a life thriving look like for you? What does it look like to see you healthy and happy? And what does it look like when you think of legacy building? What is your legacy? What are you leaving behind to tell people, hey, I made it through X, Y, and Z? Mm-hmm. We can persevere. We can push past anything, right? Holding on to the wrong perspective and the wrong identity is like holding on to a rock that's falling with us. We both gonna hit the ground. You have to hold on to something that's solid, that's firm, that's strong, that's gonna hold you. You got to hold on to an identity that's built on a solid, firm foundation, not one that is rocked. You cannot keep looking back at the time where you was a shell and you cracked, and then keep judging yourself because you cracked open. You know what I'm talking about? When a seed goes into a ground and it cracks open, can you imagine how hurtful that is? Because that seed looked like it was whole at the point at the time, right? Even though it already had another identity attached to the seed. The seed had the identity, Dr. Toni, of a flower that bloomed, of a flower that was beautiful, even while it was a little seed, and then it cracked open and all this stuff came out, and you said to yourself, see, I knew it was over. Life is over. This is it, right? But then the attractive thinkers, the visionary said, nah, life ain't over. We're going to see what we're going to make out of this stuff that's in here. But then you start growing down instead of growing up, right? And you're like, okay, I know I'm supposed to be a flower. Why am I growing down? You don't realize you're being rooted in something. It is important to be rooted so that every little wind that comes past you is not plucking you out of where you belong. Yes. We want to make sure we are planted where we belong so that we can flourish for seasons and seasons and seasons. We are not going to sit there and be gone with the wind everywhere. Every time you turn, every bird that fly past, here we go, laying on the ground again. Sometimes you had to go down before you grew up. That was part of the grounding. That was part of you being rooted. And that's okay. And we have to accept that and allow ourselves to continue to work towards what we said we needed to be. Work towards it, because at some point you're going to grow up. At some point you're going to bud in your season. And guess what? When you bud in your season, you're going to be like, see, I knew it, I'm budding. That ain't it. It's more. You still have to bloom. You still have to bloom. There's still more for you in store. It's not just enough for you to break ground and come out, break ground, and you're just budding and you're like, oh, I finally made it out. Look at all this world out here that I get to enjoy as a bud. No, you full bloom. Can you imagine what your life looked like full bloom? Why did you have to go through what you went through? It was necessary. That's all we can say. It's necessary. And if it's necessary, you owe it to yourself to find out why by moving forward and finding out when you get restored. You'll figure out when you bloom, and then you'll look and say, oh, that's why I had to crack open. That's funny. That's how I got from a seed to a flower. And then you'll start to enjoy your story as a whole. You start telling everybody, this is what I went through, but you'll tell it with the restoration attached to it, not with the feel sorry for me attached to it, not with the woe is me attached to it. You'll say, I went through that and I recovered, and this is what I happened. And then you'll start having fun, and you start looking at your story like that was a good one. That was a good story. I feel like I love who I am. So can you imagine that? Imagine loving who you are for a minute, and take the time to love on you. It's necessary. Everybody needs you to love on you. It's not selfish to have self-care. Everybody needs, if you have children, they need you to have some self-care, because you're going to need the energy, and you're going to need to teach them that self-care is necessary. So when they grow up and start getting out in the world, they see that it's a common thing. It's not something that, oh, it just takes the supernatural to have self-care. No, etch that in now. Etch that in your children now, that self-care is necessary, so they don't grow up neglecting themselves for $1.
My God.
What could take place with your peace of mind? What would you sacrifice for your peace? What would you sacrifice your peace for? That's another question. Nothing. I'm not sacrificing my peace. My peace is my priority. It is one of the most valuable things I have. It's the way, because if I have my peace, I can make sound decisions. I can build when I'm in peace. Why would I sacrifice it because somebody offered me something externally? I'm not sacrificing my peace no more. You have to take that stand, and you know what happens when you take that stand? You start living a life of peace, and opportunities that are meant for you start coming. You start seeing things that you've been desiring start manifesting. You start loving life. It gets good. Your story gets good. All you have to do is keep going in the restored. It's okay that you got rocked. Now it's time to be restored. Use your tools. Use all the tools you can. Use the Attractive Thinker book, the Attractive Thinker website. Use my website. Use your power wall. If you don't have a power wall, I have a power wall on my website. Use whatever you got to use to get to your bloom, because you deserve it. You deserve it for all the time that you put, all the time and effort that you put into this life. You deserve to see yourself at full bloom. Don't stop until you get there. Don't stop until you at full bloom, and then don't stop some more. Keep blooming. Okay? You can find me on my website at www.visualencouragement.com. We provide mental support for movers and shakers, for trailblazers, pathfinders, groundbreakers, all you visionaries that desire to move mountains but need help lifting the heaviness so that you can create a new vision for yourself. Go to my contact us page, put in your information. Let me know how I can uplift you, enlighten you, and encourage you so that you can live a life of fulfillment beyond the break in the restored. Again, that's www.visualencouragement.com. See you soon.
Awesome. Attractive thinkers and visionaries, I trust that you have captured these gems from today's episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance. Rocked and restored. I know you will not forget this message today. I want you to run on over to Amazon and grab your copy of The Attractive Thinker, because you're going to need it to reinforce this message. Turn to page 451, and read Broken with a Purpose. You're going to need to read that because it's going to solidify what you just received in this message today. I want you to always remember this. When your life is being rocked, like Tichet said, what's coming behind that is you being restored. Some things are being shaken up. Some things are being moved and shifted from the front to the back and from the back to the front. You have restoration to look for if you've ever experienced being rocked. Run on over to our website, theattractivethinker.guru. We have some free resources there for you for mental healing, mental strength, and mindset maintenance while you're reaching your goals and creating your plans and charting your journey as a new and aspiring entrepreneur. You always hear us say, our life's work, that is to make your life better. Remember, it is not what you're going through, it's how you're viewing it. Think attractively, and we'll see you soon.